Hello Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another work mode workout. And today was dynamic effort squat and deadlift day. Making some slight changes to my accessory work, and you guys will see kind of how I'm going with that moving forward, because what do we have happening? We start to stall on anything. What do? We start rotating in better stuff, and some stuff I've had to build up to being able to do it, so we'll get to that here in a bit. So 5x5 speed box squats. And for people who are asking, that's a 12-inch box, and you guys can see I'm about 2 to 3 inches below parallel. Probably at least 3 actually at that point, if you were to really assess that angle honestly. So that's nice and deep. That's what we want. We want to be very, very deep on a box squat, particularly for the speed work. Again, this is 60% today, because we know the heaviest box squat you guys have seen me hit recently was 440. That's what I'm using as my calculations. So today it's 60% of that with 25% chain. So how much chain is that? Approximately 110 pounds. Now, some people might notice when I come in and out that one of those chains, half of it's still on the floor, right? So it's not doubled up, it's the full length of the chain. Well, that's so that I can cut. That's a 12-pound chain on each side, so half of that is 6. So I'm taking 12 pounds off of what would be on there if I was using all the chains. So I've kind of got a good system in place for that. Like, I've got my chains set up to where I can just drop and drag them like individual plates and put half chains on, full chains. I can adjust them for different lengths for my bench and deadlift. So I've got it all tuned to where I can get within, a pound or so as far as what's at the top or bottom. So I've got it all dialed in. Box squats were a little tough today because this is, again, the heaviest wave, and so they felt slightly heavier. I felt a hair slower, but that's okay because we're still getting good speed. We're still getting compensatory acceleration, and we've got to remember that at this point I actually have 85% of my max at the top, even though at the bottom we're only at 60%. So it comes up fast and then it starts to slow. But again, we're working on all those weak points, and you guys will see when the max effort day gets around, I'm probably going to sub out the hip belt squats for now for maybe safety bar box squats for my volume work, right? And it's because the hip belt squat has really strained my lower back, and so I've got to keep building my lower back. And what I mean is, it didn't pull the muscle. The way it digs in has left my lower back really tender on my right side, just below my rib cage, so the upper erector. And it's because it applied so much pressure there that it feels like the muscle feels tender. And so that's fine. I'm going to just build that area up. We're going to rotate good mornings back in, and we'll get to that in a bit. Because again, we're getting all my assistance and accessory work more specialized. We have to keep getting stronger. Because on a system like this, the programming stays relatively constant on the max effort and dynamic effort work. We run percentages, we run exercise rotations, but essentially the work doesn't change much, right? We're doing very similar stuff, even though it might be in waves and rotating exercises. Programming is pretty well set based upon your maxes. It's all calculated. Even though it might appear to be random to those who don't understand the system, it really isn't. It is actually a calculated, systematic approach. So there's actually math behind everything I'm going to do with it, and it's calculated all the time based on your maxes. And the same thing, I mean, I can estimate on all those lifts what my maxes are going to be when we even rotate through those lifts, particularly as you plot them over time. You start to learn how much band tension or chain tension you can handle on a lift variation relative to your max. Right, it starts to get dialed in for the individual. You can assess your own strength curves. And particularly, like I've said, chains versus bands tells you a lot about your strength versus your explosiveness, strength versus power. Because bands require more power, and chains are just judge and train strength. It's really interesting you can note your disparity in the strength between the two. But that's a whole nother topic. Today we did the heaviest also on the speed pulls. I only did 15 of these. And normally the programming calls for a minimum of 10 and up to 20 singles, right? That's what we're doing right now. I'm basing it on how my thumbs can handle it. And I noticed my thumbs after about the 12th one started getting more and more tender doing the hook grip. And the 15th rep, I probably could have stuck my thumbs out another couple reps if I was forced to. But the 15th rep was really slow and it felt grindy. And I'm like, that's it. If I can't pull these fast, we're not training the performance element we want. We don't care about being strong. We don't care about it feeling heavy or grindy. That's what we do for the heavy day. Today's about speed. And it's hard to make a deadlift look fast, especially when you're pulling against chains. It's not always going to look fast, even though it might be compensatory acceleration. And there you guys get a better look at my back. Now, here's what I'm going to say. It's very obvious to my normal subscribers, the recomposition is actually coming along. It's been very, very painfully slow. But I'm an advanced lifter who's recomping. It's going to be painfully slow. Right? But it's becoming more and more apparent. And I'm going to laugh at that because you got all these trolls and detractors who are freaking out. They want to make all these jokes. You guys can't anymore. You guys know, you can clearly tell that I have gained muscle and lost fat this year. And it's blaringly obvious to anyone who isn't biased and doesn't just hate me. You guys need to change your strategy if you want to actually sound effective. You need to accuse me of using gear. Right? That's what you guys need to do. You need to just admit that everything is working. And so the only way that could be working could be if I'm blasting a bunch of shit, right? That needs to be your strategy, guys. Because you're going to fail. You're losing ground with the other. Because the regular fans are like, yeah, he's getting the results now. And it's not going to slow down. It's going to keep going. Day by day by day. And no, it's not easy. I have to pay extreme attention to my recovery. Like, I actually have to monitor all this volume. I have to look at things like Prelipin's chart. I have to look at everything. I have to assess how I feel day by day. Stress management's on point. Again, hot bath, foam roller. See that foam roller back there? There's a foam roller right by my deadlift platform. Because a lot of times I roll my back, my hamstrings, quads, everything's just soon in between sets, after sets if I have to. Anything that feels crampy, I roll it. Because again, this training's getting pretty tough, and I'm not in a calorie surplus. So you guys got to change strategies. You need to be like, oh man, he's on trend or some shit. Because if you say I'm not making progress, you look like an idiot. You really do. And that goes for everyone from Junkie Ward to other people. And that's been pointed out by followers who are laughing at that. I mean, look at my back difference there. Look at the fact that my loose skin is looking more and more like loose skin with less fat adhering to it around the waistline. All right. It's all working. The keto diet, my body is really responding to a keto diet. I'm not going to lie. A high protein keto diet, because I eat 300 grams of protein a day, it seems to be working really well for me on this training system. And it's not rapid. I'm not losing fat quickly, but we're getting visible recomp. All right. And again, anyone who's in denial of that is just flat so biased that they can't see it, and they're not going to be able to create an effective argument anymore. So you guys need to change your strategy. You need to say that I'm using a bunch of gear and not admitting to it. That would be a better strategy, right? But over to the training, guys. But the deadlifts are good. I love these chain deadlifts. That's one reason I would much rather focus on doing these and make this more my deadlift day. I like these a lot. If it wasn't for my thumbs getting sore, this would probably be my favorite thing in the world, would be these sumo deadlifts against chains right now. That's why I don't mind doing up to 20 of them, because they're fun. I like them. And they give that whole feel through the whole body. It's like, it just feels like, man, like you did something. It almost beats you up a little bit. But it doesn't beat you up as bad as the bands do. The bands beat me up. The chains don't. The chains, it just kind of has that feeling like, just kind of that awesome feel like, oh man, I left the heavyweight, heard the chains clanking. It felt good. And it makes you feel strong, because it's like you feel everything working. I feel my entire body when I do these. You know, people are like, oh, where do you feel this? Well, I mean, I do feel it a lot through the middle back, like middle erectors and everything, and hamstrings a bit. But I just feel my whole body work on these, and it's just, it's a fantastic exercise. So if you were to ask me again, guys, like, what's your favorite exercise right now? Deadlifting with chains. Like, it's actually fun. Oh, for those curious, what do we have on the bar? About 120 pounds of chains. 120 pounds of chains, and notice they all come off the floor, so we're getting all of it. And 315 on the bar, right? 255s on each side and a 25 of the 45-pound bar. It's 315 with 120 pounds of chains. Actually, I believe it's 124 chains. I would need to double check the math. Who's counting at this point, though? But again, the grip on that's really good. Like, I want to get to the point to where I can do these on my third wave each time we get to 20 singles and be able to handle it. But I feel like I'm just going to have to build up to that. And then up next, we'll talk about it going into it. We did good mornings. People are going to be like, why? I feel like trying to do the rows for me right now, it was good for reestablishing a base to get good at those rows. But I feel like it's almost bordering on a little bit of overuse on certain muscles. And that frequency isn't giving me quite the volume I need, and then it's making me lose slots that could be more deadlift specialized. I'm going to shift the row into basically being a pure bench accessory for me. So I'm probably going to add an extra set. I'm just going to do them on my bench days. And instead of 5 sets, I'll do 6. So that, again, we're getting into that optimal volume range. And then we'll do the bicep work behind it. And that will put things like my rear delts, my biceps, everything right in that sweet spot for volume and frequency twice a week also. And then that can focus more on the parts of the back I need for the benching more. And then I want to start rotating in the good mornings and stuff like that to improve my deadlift. So we're going to do good mornings again. And it took me a while because what's the problem? I said, I love the safety bar good mornings. I used to do a lot of them way back in the day. And I felt like it was one of the better exercises, but I haven't been able to do them because they hurt my neck. So what have I been doing? I've been neck training. I neck train twice a week right now. And I don't do all these different things like you see nipples and strap-on do, to where you hit all these different angles. I just train my neck to work in a way that's going to help in the good mornings. I basically just for basically neck bridges type stuff. So I only train that one motion. I either do just, again, extensions with my neck, or I do good mornings wearing a neck harness. And what that's done is that it's strengthening my neck so that I can do these, because I'm going to ramp these up. Now, we started real light, right? 1 plate aside. And that is not a 45-pound bar. For those curious, that is a 65-pound bar. So it is 155. And we're just going to start with that. And I think what I'm going to do, because I used to love doing those with chains, I'm going to add chain weight, right? Let's have fun with it. Let's use the equipment I have. I'm going to start adding chains, because then it doesn't strain my neck as much at the bottom, but I still get that upper part, that lockout, where we want a lot of it. So the good mornings are going to become a staple again. So I'm not going to row 4 days a week. I'm going to row with enough volume to get all my rowing needs in on my bench day. So we're going to do the chest supported rows, so my lower back gets a complete break on that day other than the arching on the bench. And we're going to do these good mornings. And the good mornings are going to, again, improve my deadlift directly. And they're going to toughen up my lower back in that area more so that I can start doing hip belt squats again eventually without feeling like it strains that one area with the belt digging in. So I'm going to use to toughen up my lower back, just like I'm doing the neck training to toughen my neck up to handle the good mornings, right? The good mornings will toughen up that part of my lower back further to allow me to do my hip belt squats better to improve my squat. And the good mornings, these do carry over extremely well to your deadlifts, right? And there we go. There's my back again. People want to talk about no gains. No gains, not losing any fat. You guys are full of shit right there. All right. You can claim it all you want, but you know at this point, if you're one of my detractors, you know looking right there, you know that you're full of shit. I got you. I just owned you. Admit it. Move on. Find something new. But these are going to help me all the way around. So again, it kills several birds with one stone. So we're going to focus on getting really, really strong at these now. This is the next exercise that we need to get stronger at. And I'm going to do so. I just had to prepare myself for it with the neck training. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.